Hello guys, and welcome to another solo leveling arise video. This one I would like to give you some tips in order to improve your damage on both Sung Jing-woo and Hunter side. As you can see, there are many ways of exploiting damage in this game. It will depend also on the weapons that you use and the combinations of it. There are so many factors in it, and people that are interested in it will find this guide quite useful because it will give tips that maybe they don't know about. I'm not covering weapons because it's just too big, it's too many factors to take into account, but besides that, I'm covering all the tips that I know of. So let's get started. Build your units right. This might seem like, oh, this is very logical. No, you would be surprised at the amount of people that have two executioner and two broken, or have three pieces of expert and like one of another one. They don't even have complete sets. Build your units right so that you can do more damage. If you maximize the effects of your sets, you will be more prepared to do more damage. If you don't have the right sets, or you have really bad stats, you can do whatever tip I tell you, but it's not gonna work as well as if you had a well built unit. Learn about each unit that you have, each unit that you want to invest on. Learn which stats are the ones that are important. There are so many ways to know this easily. Like, for example, these are the artifacts. There are recommended stats. With the recommended stats, you might know how to build them already, but there are also resources in the internet that you can use to find out how to build them. So first do that before you even do anything else. Level up your skills. I'm not talking about rune skills, I'm talking about also weapon skills. So rune skills, it's important to level them up. The ones that you use a lot, level them up to 7, and the most essential ones, level them up to 10. So things like mutilate, armor break, death dance, those three I will level 10, and then as for the rest, it's more up to the ones, well, let's say the runes that you have. Yeah. As for weapons, it's also very important to level them up. This is usually the pattern that I follow. So I first level 7 the ultimate, well, the special skill, and then the core skill, and then the basic attack. You can level 10, let's say, a weapon that you have highly ascended. So for example, maybe I will level 10 Moon Shadow or Demonic Plums Flower Sword. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm still doubting. But I would rather level 10 something that would be more of a DPS weapon. Like, for example, let's say Huntsman, Radirus Bow, or Westwind if I had a proper Westwind. Yeah. So these kinds of skills you want to max. Same with hunters. So for hunters, you want to invest in their skills. Getting them to level 7 should be something that you do. So most of them get them to level 7, especially for the DPSs that you main on. Every bit of damage can actually help, especially on tight stages. Yeah. And then after that, if you want to highly invest on the character, get their skills to level 10. So see, for example, these two, I would only recommend to getting to level 10 the skills that are most important for the character, because you don't really have that much resources to spend on. So for example, I know that Cha, it maybe in 2025 I'll get her to A5, who knows, let's see how luck works out. But you want her ultimate and her dancer skill to be level 10. After that, everything else is optional, like, or it's not core. So speaking about core, for Alicia, the core skill is the most important one, and then followed by the ultimate. You have those two on level 10. You don't need anything else level 10. Yeah? As I said, that's well territory, so getting it to level 7 is fair, as in it's something that doesn't take a lot of rare resources. So yeah, besides that, then for skills, don't forget rune skills, weapon skills, and also hunter skills. Next tip is level up your weapons. Your main weapons should eventually be level 100. No discussion there. There's no level 50, but let's say don't be cheap in that regards. you want level 100 weapons. Let me just show you a simple example. So this one has a level 100 weapon. Yeah, let's compare it to a level 800, a level 80. I have 23,362 attack. Yeah, if I use the bow, my attack was reduced by around 2,500, 3,000. Yeah. Okay, this is an SR versus SSR weapon, but this one has 1,304 attack, and then this one has 2,500, and then you see that I lost over 2,000, even though the difference is not as much. Reason being is that there are other factors that affect attack, such as attack percentage from equipment, attack percentage from gems, etc. All these things come into play. So this little base attack that you see here might seem small when you just compare it like raw versus raw, but it scales even more once you add the multipliers in, which are the attack percentage increases that come from various sources. Same thing applies to hunters, so don't neglect that. Try to level 100 every weapon of every DPS that you're going to use, and eventually you will see a good increase in damage. Save your upgrade materials, or yeah, your upgrade growth materials for DPSs. Reason being is that you want those extra stats for your hunters that do damage. For supports, even though it's a CP boost increase, I will leave it last, like the last option. Yeah, you have a lot of ways to increase the support DPS, but these materials do not come very often. Even though they're farmable, they're still hard to get. As you can see, I only have one 3-star on 60 days of playing. I'm working on the second star, but on the second 3-star, but this is by using all the materials that the game has given me, and this is counting events, etc. I will have 35 of these, but getting these are also quite difficult. So save them for the DPS, for the main DPSs, and then the rest of the characters, just leave them at green or at most at blue. This is more a personal take, but yeah, here I would go all in on attack percentage to favor Sun Jin Woo. You want to favor Sun Jin Woo over the hunters, in my opinion, because in most areas he's going to be the main damage dealer. Then on this side I use critical hit damage. I don't know when it is actually going to be like worse to have critical hit damage over death pen, but this is what I chose. So for damage, these two lanes are the important ones, the rest are kind of whatever. Yeah, so I choose critical hit damage here. Maybe in the future defense penetration, but we will see. I'm saving defense penetration gems in case that I do want to test that in the future, but for now, this is what I would recommend. Try to be in the green when you are in a stage, or at least in the white. The higher you are, the less penalties you will have, so just have that in mind. I don't know exactly how the penalty system works, nor the specifics of it, but I would recommend that you have that in mind every time you enter a battle, so that you have less penalties, which will translate into possibly more damage. Choose your best damage dealing supports. In my opinion, the best damage dealing supports are
I think I need more training.
Min,
Don't be afraid.
You can trust me.
Libora,
Ready?
and Beastbite. These three you want to use as your damage increasing units in the game, and they will bring you very, very far. Another option could be Meilin. Meilin also brings attack increase without the penalty of Beastbite. It's just 4% less, but you don't have this damage increase penalty. Okay? If you don't have Beastbite or Meilin, you can use Cha. Cha has also a really good buff for that. If you don't have Cha, then yeah, that's. I think those are the offensive ones. I wouldn't personally not use Choi as an offensive kind of character, because you already have Shadow Step. So with Shadow Step, you already have the defense decrease part covered. So you have this, this, for this.
Aw.
Of course, in the main cases, you will also need breakers. So most of the time you need breakers. So usually you're just going to use these two,
You
or
underestimate me.
if people don't have lead bora, build one of these three in the second slot and then the breaker. So for example, let's say realistic scenario this
I won't
with
make a
this.
mistake.
Also, don't forget to use the right sets for the supports. There are sets that give certain buffs that you want to have. So for example, let's say I choose,
I think I need more be off then.
yeah, let's just give a simple scenario.
Don't be afraid.
Here you see I have Burning Blessing on Beast Bag, so I will get a buff every time I use his Beast Bag support skill, and I also have Destroyer. It could have been also Noble Sacrifice. These are sets that apply buffs, which buffs apply to Sun Jingwu, so have that in mind. You want that as well. And then as for the breakers, you have the grid set. The grid set applies for support skills. So all of this is increased damage that you just get passively, or doesn't have to be directly, like for example Burning Blessing or Burning Grid, which just give you stats. Destroyer gives you more power gauge. What does more power gauge mean? More times to use ultimate. So never neglect that, have that in mind. Using sets is very, very important for maximizing your damage. You should maintain the basic attack of the elemental weakness weapon up most of the time. So as you can see, I did Plum and then I did the Grimoire. So now I'm just doing damage to the units with the Grimoire. Yeah, this is something that you should do for every case. This is generic for anything that you use with Plum +1. You don't want to leave Plum as the main weapon. When you're doing basic attacks, you want to use the Grimoire. Yeah? Maybe there is a case where you have like such a powerful Plum and a Saki water weapon that you don't want to use it, but that's like, I think that's a rare case. Yeah, so in the majority of the cases when you're using Plum +1, just leave the elemental weapon as the one you use for your basic attacks. Yeah, do that and you will have increased amount of damage. That you see again, I use Plum for the effect of the crit, and then I use Grimoire. This is not an efficient scenario. This is just showcasing that you should keep the Grimoire as the weapon where you do basic attacks. Next one can be a very common mistake, and is stack your buffs before doing things like mutilate. So for example, as you can see here, I am rounding up Vulcan, trying to debuff him as much as I can, and then I'm going to do Shadow Step, and then I do Dash, and then I do Mutilate. This is a way of doing the max amount of damage that you can. So whenever you have the opportunity to do so, check on the debuffs of the opponent and try to do Mutilate with as much buffs and debuffs as you can. For the hunter side, you want to take advantage of Iron. There are not many defense decrease sources on the hunter side, so using Iron as a means to do more damage is completely valid and should be one of the strategies that should be applied on every stage you do as a hunter, especially for low spenders that need, or free to plays that need, that extra bit of damage. Iron can help you with it. So never forget that using Iron is the best way to increase your damage on the hunter side. On Sun Jingu's side, you have Shadow Step, so you don't really need things like his defense break. So just have that in mind for increasing damage. Blessing Stone selection. So there are three criteria that I mainly use when I'm choosing Blessing Stones. First one is, can the enemy be broken? If so, then I always take on Pulverize. If Pulverize is relevant, I always take it. Second one, does the weapon that I'm using bringing elemental damage to the boss? If so, then I bring Weakness Detection. If I only have the skills as the weakness ones. I do not bring weakness detection because most of the time I'm going to be hitting with the weapon or doing special skills with the weapons. So in that case, I don't think it's worth it. This is my opinion there. Then the rest is mostly about rarity, and the core ones that I select are these ones. This one only for POD. Otherwise, then this one is a very generic one, really good one. Another generic one, really good one. Another generic one, really good one. Another generic one, really good one. And this one would be like my last choice if I had to choose uh, for the generic ones. Yeah, Chains of Blood also good but risky, but it's really good if you need the damage. And then after that, I really have, oh yeah, Reawakening, also a really good general purpose one. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 general purpose ones, and depending on the rarity, I would choose them and pick them accordingly. Last one is investigate the effects of your weapons so that you know how to play with them. For example, A1 A1 Moon Shadow does the following. It gives you a lunar eclipse with a duration of 3 seconds, and you have 3 stacks of full moon. Yeah? So when you have an A1 Moon Shadow, you can stack these 3 times and nothing else happens. You just stack it, you get the slow timer and everything. Now when you hit A3, you will get the lunar eclipse instances when you shadow step. This changes the way you play with the weapon, because once you shadow step, you can just wait a bit until the lunar eclipse instances run out, and then you can do the ultimate, so that you can have a longer time with this 45% damage increase. This is something to have in mind when you are min-maxing with this weapon. And now with Plum, on A1, you have the amplifying draw when you sheath your sword. Yeah, this is what happens when you have it on A1. Now when you have it on A3, you can use a dash to do the amplifying draw. What this means is that you can dash, do a skill, dash again, do another skill, dash again, do another skill, and it will do amplifying draw on each of them. If you read amplifying draw, it says increases the chance of the user landing a critical hit on the next attack, on the next attack, key on the next attack. Just have let that sink in for a few seconds, because I had like 90 days playing and I didn't really realize what it meant. And it also increases the skill damage by 32%. So if you want to min-max with an A3 Plum Sword, it's going to be very different than min-maxing with an A1 Plum Sword. Yeah. This is just 2 examples of weapons, but every weapon will have their own gimmick and their own way of playing depending on the advancement that you have with it. So investigate, learn about it, and learn how to use it properly. That's about it, guys. It's not a FPS trick. It's nothing related to cheating. Damage in this game is about buff, debuff stacking, and the obvious, which is increasing your stats and skills. Don't neglect the most core parts of damage and then complain that you're not doing damage. Huh? I don't want to see you saying, oh, my plum's not doing damage, and you have a level 1 skilled plum sword. Yeah, that's not right. So that's about it, guys. I hope you have found this video insightful. If you like these kinds of videos, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.